Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Brenda Garard. I'm the owner and CEO of 180 Comprehensive Veteran Services. And I have with me today a good friend of mine, Lorraine Harrison. I would like to introduce her. I know Lorraine from a lot of different platforms. Lorraine, you want to introduce yourself?
All right, I'm Lorraine Harrison, and I am a business owner. I own several businesses, and my goal in life is my business goal is to help small businesses grow and prosper, because I believe that small businesses are the backbone of our economy. But my personal goal is to stay in God's will and use my spiritual gifts as He gives me direction. And I was trying to remember where we met. The relationship has been really impactful, but when did it start? I became a member of the Rockdale Chamber of Commerce in 2020. Due to the pandemic, I was working from home. I was running my business from home, and the pandemic hit, and I had to get everybody out my house. Okay.
Yeah, so I took a huge leap out on faith, and I walked out into the brick and mortar. It was all God ordained from the very beginning. You were speaking about being in God's will. Just a little sidebar. In my prayer room, I have a whale's tail.
Oh, really?
As a reminder of my Jonah moments. And so when I'm struggling with moving forward with stepping out on faith, I remember about that tail, and I got it all the way over in a little corner, tucked away in a corner. But it's large enough that it keeps me reminded that if I'm in that moment, if I'm in a Jonah moment, then I'm not walking in faith. And so I'm restricting myself from the blessings that God has in store for me. And so we met through the chamber. You came to the ribbon cutting. And,
oh, yeah, I did.
Right. And from there, our relationship has blossomed into
great friends.
Great friends.
And I invited you to our Bible study.
Absolutely. Which
is my rock with that group of people, and you've been involved in that since the day I invited you.
Absolutely. Right. Nonstop. That Bible study, I feel like has incorporated itself in my life as my new family. And what's interesting is that I prayed for years for God to put me in this perfect Bible study. And that's where I feel like I am right now. I lost my husband about 1.5 years ago, and it was the Bible study that carried me and my family through. People showed up from the Bible study, for our services that I didn't even know were there. But after the fact, and I found out about it, just knowing that they were there to support me, it reminds me of those times when we think that we're not walking, or that God is not walking with us. And then He reminds us that He was there all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That Bible study has some amazing people in it. And even though we don't meet in person, I feel as close, like you said, as it's a family.
Right.
Yeah.
You remember that time that I did the presentation? That we were going through the names of God?
Yes.
The presentation I had to do was Jehovah Shammah, the Lord is there. And I ended up in building my prayer room. I found something. I found a little plaque that said I was always there. And it was right after I did the presentation. And I was like, oh my goodness, like this was so perfect. And so I keep it right there at my altar to remind me that no matter where I go, no matter what I do, no matter what's happening in my life, He's always there. Yeah. Like I feel like He's here with us right now.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. So what things do you think He wants us to talk about?
Well, I want to tell you about this new spirit that I have. It's the spirit of a lioness. And let me correct myself. It's not a new spirit. It's just one that I'm actually stepping out into. I was inspired by some lion chasers that I met through the chamber, through the Bible study. And when I came to find out that there was a group of men in our community that are lion chasers, there was something that stirred up in me.
I don't think I knew anything about them. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Actually, I know you know one of them. Brother Romel is a lion chaser.
Okay.
And I...
Not surprised to hear that.
Absolutely. And so I have that same type spirit. And I remember saying to him one time, it's like, man, I want to be like you when I grow up. He's like, no, you need to be better than me. You always aspire better. And so I've developed this lioness spirit. I'm walking out into the spirit of lioness because I'm aggressive about my walk with God. I'm aggressive about what I do with veterans, and we'll get into that in a little bit later. But I'm also just as aggressive as you are with saving small businesses, I'm now more aggressive in encapsulating the relationships that I've met with members of the community, people in the chamber, our Bible study group. So that's what I want to talk to you about now. Is I want to know a little bit about you. Who is Lorraine Harrison?
Oh, that's a scary question. My overall goal has always been to make a difference, and God has, over the years, as I've had different businesses, it's like one gets me ready for the next one, and then the next one, and the doors open. But because of what I've already done, I have the experience, or I get the idea from him, and I can move forward with it. But you're talking about the Save Business. I started a group called Save Small Biz right after the pandemic was over. No, well, it wasn't over, but people were beginning to get out again. And I was sitting at my computer one day ordering something from Amazon because we all were doing that because we couldn't get out. And it hit me, the stores are open. You could go to Old Town and buy this. So why are you ordering it from Amazon? Which caused me to start the Save Small Biz and remind everybody else that we've all developed bad habits of just, because it was so easy. You order it and it shows up on your doorstep next day. But what would happen if our local pharmacy or, our local daycare or all those small businesses that we rely on all the time, what if they were gone? And if we're just shopping with Amazon, they're going to be gone. So I did that 2 years ago, and then we restarted again this year. I did 6 months at a time. Okay. And but everything that business-wise, and I personally too, is about business owners. And I understand from my soul what they go through, because I've either been on straight commission or had my own business pretty much my whole life. And so I understand that people talk about, I want to open my own business. But the courage it takes to actually step out, leave your corporate job with that big paycheck, and step out and go on your own has a great deal of courage involved. And it's a very lonely job, because if you're doing it by yourself, you don't have the mentors or so forth. So that's what I do. I guess that's who I am. Yeah. And I do complimentary marketing reviews with new businesses, and just try to get them to understand that although they're really good at what they do, You know, if you're an auto mechanic and you open a mechanic shop, that's great, but you have to extend yourself to learn how to run a business, because being an auto mechanic does not guarantee that you're going to have a good business.
Right.
So,
well, before I get into the other platforms that you sit on, I want to talk a little bit with you. I would actually like the viewers to understand how Save Small Biz has helped save my small business.
Oh, really?
Yes. I meet a lot of challenges as a African American business owner, female business owner. A lot of challenges, from new hires to other collaborating members of the community to even the veterans that I serve. It's really hard to stay respectful in the community as a African American businesswoman. I feel like I always have to prove myself. One of the things that Save Small Biz has done for me is that it helped me to understand that how I stepped out into doing this ministry / business of helping veterans with their compensation and pension benefits, mental health counseling, federal retirement, Social Security benefits, is that I was going about it all the wrong way. I came out to help veterans with my heart, but that's not how you run business.
Unfortunately, the heart helps,
right,
but you have to have business acumen.
Right. And so because of our relationship and my love for you as my sister, I trust you. You've proven yourself to me as a business leader, a woman of God, and also a true, genuine individual that is really out, that has the heart to not only save small business, but that you're actually interested in the business owners themselves, just not as a business owner, but as a person. And that was one of our instant connections. And so I trusted you enough to release my business to you, for you to go in and show me things that would help, that would increase my business revenue, that would increase my clientele, that would increase my coverage, for people to see and know who I am and what I do. I actually wanted to stay in the background. But you let me know that being in the background is not going to increase my viewing for disabled veterans. I remember about a couple of years ago, well, no, it was shortly after we first met, you came, we had a meeting, you said, do you know how many disabled veterans are in the Rockdale, Newton area? And I was like, no, never even thought about it. And that right there let me know that I wasn't even thinking about business in the right sense, But from that point on, I think about, there's a lot of disabled veterans in our area that don't even know that we exist. And so slowly but surely, I've been moving forward with making ourselves known, so that veterans know that there's a company here that actually cares about what we do. And so now it's kind of flipping back over to you again, because I entrust my company to you for the social media, for the back office, for the marketing. What else do we do?
Oh, goodness. Well, Brenda, I saw from the beginning that you had the heart and a ministry. This was a ministry for you. But then you just had to add the business piece. And it's been exciting to watch you grow, and talking about all those things that we do. I don't do all that by myself. God sent me a valuable partner. I think, has it been 3 years ago? Tracy Wood, I hired her as my bookkeeper, and she immediately got into my stuff. And
That's a good thing sometimes.
Yes, and it was God. I know God-centered to me. We have totally different approaches to everything, which makes us a good team, and then makes us an interesting relationship. So, but she is a wonderful woman of God, and when I said a while ago that God puts us in positions to move forward, because He knows that's where we need to be, but we're not going to do it on our own. So Tracy and I moved forward to offer the community websites and social media management, because at the time we'd had a bad experience with somebody doing a website that we'd hired them to do, and we couldn't find anybody that we felt operated in excellence. And so we became partners in our About Connections section to do websites and social media. She had done websites before as a volunteer, but so she had the experience, though, to be able to do it. So we are one more thing that we can offer to small businesses, and know that it's coming from the heart. It's not a template, cookie cutter kind of thing. When you said I care about the business owners, people do business with people they know, like, and trust, and that's how we build our websites. And we know, like, and trust our customers, because we have a relationship with them and really care about their success. Because one of the things that I talk about is that if we can help a small business to save time, to take some of those things off of their plate that they really don't have time to do, or the expertise, then they have more time to work on their business or to spend on their family and to enjoy life. Right. And that's a problem with small businesses, because they work so many hours that very oftentimes their family gets neglected. Yeah,
I would agree with that. That's been a big challenge for me. And right now, just a little self-disclosure, I have a really, really good friend of mine, sister in Christ, closer than a blood sister. And she had a very important event this past weekend, and I totally forgot about it.
That just proves you're human, dear.
Right, but she's so upset with me right now, and I don't know how to. I mean, God will give me the direction. We'll talk about it, but she's very near and dear to me. But because I have so many things going on, and other important things in my life are being neglected, and so I can't. It's not making an excuse. It's the reality. And I'm saying that to say how important what you do, how it impacts, as a business owner, how it impacts my personal life. I feel very entrusted that when I give you, or when we come up with the idea, that I can let that go and I won't look back at that. That's not, I can't tell you that I've probably had that kind of relationship with anybody else with business. So that means a lot to me, and I'm sure we'll talk a little bit later about how I need to go and make these amends to and to one of my best friends, my sister. But that's how what you do inspire me to continue to allow you to work on the front and the back office so that I can have a life. Mm-hmm. It's important. This is my sister in Christ. This is my best friend. We have a lot of different relationships that, how we, in a lot of different avenues, and how our relationship intertwine. And she's even stepped in and helped me. She's come in to just volunteer because I've been wearing so many hats in my company, to just give me a break. And so I appreciate what you do as a Save Small business owner. I appreciate that, and just let you know that it's not just about the business, because you helping me save this small business is also helping me save my relationship.
This was a wake-up call for you.
Yes.
So it made you realize that something had to change. Right. Because this was you letting your friend down is an unacceptable situation that you would never intentionally do.
Right.
So it was a wake-up call for you to make changes. And sometimes God has to stick things in there that we're not real happy with.
Absolutely.
I had a wake-up call here a few weeks ago where I ended up in the hospital. And they didn't find anything wrong with me. So it was anxiety and stress that I had allowed to build up. And that was a wake-up call. And so I'm making some changes as well.
I'm glad you said that because, I want the viewers to understand that my heart and my passion and my ministry and helping veterans doesn't trump my family, myself, and my God. It does not trump that. And I have all these things these puzzle pieces on the table, and what God is showing me, what life is showing me, going to the ER, suffering with migraines, those types of things, what it's showing me is that my stress level at any given time could be at an all-time high, which means that my level of faith, my level of organization, my level of commitment is going to be at an all-time low. And so now I'm working on this balancing act to, keep everything in its proper perspective. But one of the best solutions that I've come up with thus far is self-care. And so while you're out here saving small businesses, as your sister, I would, again, like to encourage you to save yourself and your family as well. As a giver, it's our drive to get out and give the very best of ourselves to others, to help others. But it's counterproductive when we're not giving that same to ourselves.
I totally agree. And I have a long list of things I'm implementing. I'm checking them off one at a time that takes care of me so that I can take care of others. Okay. And so
I have a question. I know about your Save Small Biz. You talked about when it started, as a result of the pandemic and everybody coming back into the community now, coming out of their hiding places. And so that's been a few years now. And you talked about what inspired you to do it, to be able to take away from the monopoly and give back to the community. And but tell me about one of your best accomplishments.
Oh, dear. Gosh, do you mean business-wise or?
Yes, and saving small businesses.
Well, I think the fact that my About Conyers magazine has been publishing for 22 years is probably something that is an accomplishment. When I started it, who knew it would still be here? And it is, again, an opportunity for small businesses to get their word out that they're here and what they do. And the majority of my advertisers are small businesses. And I have to say that I just have had an epiphany. Excuse me. I was at a breakfast Saturday morning that was about homelessness. And there were 6 different agencies, nonprofits, that were there that impact people that are homeless. And while I was sitting there, I heard, your magazine could do a lot to help with this. Mm. And so I'm going to have to do some reanalyzing and see how I'm going to I've always had some nonprofits in there, but I'm going to have to work on that and see what God has in store for that, because it was a definite, very clear that the reason I still have the magazine is that it needs to make a bigger impact.
Absolutely. Speaking of the About Conyers, you talked about the About Conyers, the Save Small Business, and in the beginning I asked, who is Lorraine Harrison? Tell me about some of the other hats that you wear.
Well, I have my therapy.
Which is?
I make art out of vintage jewelry. It started because I had my mother's and my grandmother's jewelry in a drawer, and what am I going to do with this? And so one afternoon I just got it out and put it on the table and played with it and made a sort of like a Christmas tree out of my mother's jewelry, and it hangs in my hall, and so I feel her presence every day. And my mother actually had a direct line when you needed prayer. She was the warrior that you went to. And so now occasionally when I need some real help, I'll go talk to that Christmas tree. And I feel like she hears me. Yeah. And then I made one for my son, who was very close to my mother. And he had tears in his eyes and, said, I remember some of these pieces that she wore all the time. And and then it gives me a creative opportunity that lets my creative juices, and it really is my therapy. But then it became a ministry, because then I began to take, if somebody had their family jewelry, I could take that and make an art piece, a legacy piece that they could share with their family, honor the person that the jewelry belonged to. And on the back of it, I put who commissioned it, who did the jewelry belong to, if it was a gift, who was it going to, and what the relationship is. And I had one lady who had 6 granddaughters, and she had a lot of her mother's jewelry, and we made one legacy piece for each granddaughter. She said she gave it to them, and they all cried, and the whole thing. But it's something that can be passed down and continue to honor her mother. Yeah. And so that has become a ministry. I used to, we used to just get together and get the jewelry and so forth. Now I allow a considerable amount of time so they can talk about the family member. And one lady told me, this pin, my brother saved his money when he was 12 to give to my mother on Mother's Day. And so this pin needs to go on his piece, because that he will remember that. Right. So it's I love doing it. It's a mission, and the time just flies by. My husband, we have an echo down there, and he'll holler at me, "Are you coming up anytime today?" Because I do this in the basement.
Oh, okay.
So that's
nice.
That's my therapy, and I love doing it.
I would like to. I love that, and so in the building that we operate out of, there's a hallway that as soon as I went into the building, God had inspired me to make that the Veterans Hall of Fame.
Oh, okay.
And so what I would like to do is I would like to be able to give you some memorabilia from the veterans that I've collected from the veterans, and I would like for you to create a art piece.
I would love to do that. Thank you.
Right, for that hallway. The other thing I would like to do is my 2 greatest veterans that are no longer here. My father, who's a Vietnam veteran, and he was one of the first Black airborne paratroopers. Oh. He was a member of the 555. And then my husband, he was also a combat veteran. He served in Desert Storm, which is no longer here. I would like to be able to honor them as well. And so I would like to be able to get some pieces of their military memorabilia and bring it to you for you to create an art piece for us to honor them.
I would be honored to do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about was the nonprofit side. I have a nonprofit that is sitting in wait. It's called Burden Bearer. And
now, where did this name come from? That's not that's an unusual name.
So I was praying and I was asking God. My heart again is about serving, and so I wanted to have a nonprofit side that sistered my for-profit side. Mm-hmm. And when I was praying and asking God about the name, God just let me know that if He bore the burdens for us by dying on the cross, then why can't I bear the burdens for the veterans by serving those that are in need?
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. So burden bearer is to bear those financial and economic and emotional burdens from the veterans. Like, we have some veterans that are not eligible for benefits. They could have had a bad discharge, a bad conduct discharge from the military, and or a dishonorable discharge, and where they're not eligible for benefits. So what do? I would like to, through burden bearer, I would like to be able to help them. Homelessness. That was one of probably the most rewarding things that I've probably done outside of adopting a child, was to be able to work with homeless veterans. These are individuals that come and serve our country, and the country fails to serve them. And so my heart with that just bleeds. And so my nonprofit, I would like to be able to launch, to be able to help with, rent, mortgage payments, car payments, cell phone, whatever, emergency housing.
I need to connect you with this group that my Saturday morning breakfast was in, because they are all about helping the homeless. And just because he's a veteran doesn't make him any less eligible for. Absolutely. And they had some amazing, I just learned a lot about what they're doing to try to serve the homeless. So we need to put you in to that group as well.
All right.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Actually, I don't look at it as challenges anymore. What I've learned over the last few years, and knowing you, and being in our Bible study, together, being in the community as a part of the member of the Chamber of Commerce, is that they're not challenges. They're opportunities. Opportunities that I'm not well versed in yet. And so when I humble myself and I go to God and I ask God, and I allow people to lead me, and I'm teachable, then what I'm learning is that one of the aspects was the entrepreneurial class. I would like to say, on behalf of small business, if you are just coming into business, or even if you've been into business for a while and you're in the Rockdale area, I would suggest that you join the chamber and sign up for the Entrepreneurial Academy.
You actually don't have to be a member of the chamber to take that.
Oh, well, thank you. I didn't know that. Yeah. Well, definitely contact the Chamber of Commerce to sign up for the Entrepreneurial Academy course. Life-changing. It literally stopped me in my tracks and made me pivot, the direction in which I was going for my company, and even for my personal life.
See, I think one of the things that makes that one so effective is all of the instructors are business people who are actually doing what they're instructing about. It's not coming out of a book. It's coming out of someone who actually does that service.
That's right. Mm-hmm. And then the last thing I want to talk to you about is about the relationships. Tell me about the relationships that you've been able to embrace as a result of Saving Small Business, your jury, the about Conyers, the boomers. You didn't talk about the boomers. And then there was one other one.
We're launching a new magazine. I don't know if that's what you're talking about.
Okay.
We're launching a Gwinnett Snellville magazine. The first issue will be in September. It's going to be owned by Derek Wilson, who is the current president of the local chamber in that area. He wants to do several magazines in Gwinnett because it's so large, and part of the effectiveness of the About magazines is that it serves a small community like Conyers. Mm-hmm. This will be serving Snellville, and he's pulling together a staff and using his chamber as well. Wow. So I'm excited about that. So anybody that wants to get the word out about their business in the Snellville, can reach out to us at that point.
What would the name of that?
It's about Gwinnett/Snellville, because he wants to do one in Loganville, and it would be about Gwinnett/Loganville, and hit some of the other areas in Gwinnett, nice. Which I guess is a God gift, because he reached out to me, and and he's capable of doing this work. It's not as easy as it looks, but he has the personality and the work ethic. Then I think he'll be successful with it. So, was there something else you asked me?
Ask me while I'm smiling.
Pardon?
Ask me while I'm smiling.
Why are you smiling, Brenda?
Because I remember about 1.5 years ago, you and we met for coffee, and we were talking about business, and you just stopped like in mid-sentence, and you're like, I have absolutely no idea what God wants me to do. Look at you now.
He's been more directive lately.
Yeah.
My concept of God, and this is just me personally, is that he is out in the universe, and he is working all the time for our good. But we don't know what he's doing out there.
Right.
And then when the time is right, he puts it all together, and it falls into place. Uh-huh. And by the way, that's exactly what happened with my husband. We lived within 10 miles of each other our whole life and never met.
Wow.
And then when the time was right, he put us together, and from the time we had our first date till the time we were married was 3 months. So
sounds like the perfect love story.
It was perfect. I had been single for 15 years and thought I'd never marry again. And God put him in my life, and there it was. So I'm so grateful. We've now been married 18 years.
Nice. Speaking of perfect love stories, I have a perfect love story as well, but it's in my book. But
I was going to ask you, is it ready? When can we expect it?
It's not ready. It's very close to the end. We're down to our editing the last couple of chapters, which are more of acknowledgments and letters to certain individuals. It's so, but there's a section in the book, I will say, about this perfect love story, and you would definitely have to read the book.
Well, I can't wait.
Yeah, to understand why. But I like-mindedness. I understand how you could be so close to someone and know someone all your life and then and never met. And I feel like even though my husband or my late husband and I were in different places, we were in the same place at the same time, and we just didn't know it until after he passed away. It just, and I think it's common because I remember seeing things about my mother after she passed that I couldn't see my father, my brother. But with my husband, he was truly my soulmate. And it's been a very difficult journey from that point. But at the same time, when I think about the love story, when I think about the things that my husband did and how my husband inspired me, even with working with other veterans, and I asked, would it be okay, for veterans to come to the house? And lo and behold, there were a few that came to the house that my husband actually served with.
Oh, my goodness.
And so it was therapeutic for him as well. The times that he was home, he would come downstairs and he would sit in with the veterans and he's like, hey, man, you remember that time when we were stationed over over there in Korea? Oh, man, Mama's son, boy, she would come in there and just to hear those stories.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, yeah, it was really interesting, and it was a pleasure and an honor to be able to serve some that served with my husband. It was an honor to serve my husband, not only as a veteran, because I took care of his VA needs, but also just as a wife and, as a minister for the kingdom.
Well, maybe I should ask you, who are you, Brenda Garard?
Ooh, that's a loaded question as well. I am the daughter of a combat veteran, late wife. I have 2 children that serve. I have my son served over in Afghanistan and got hit twice. God's grace, he's kind of okay, more okay than not. And then my daughter, she works for the undersecretary. She's a veteran. She's also a alumni for George Mason. You and I, we attended a black tie
That was so
event.
cool.
Oh yeah, it was great. And one of the valedictorian was a recipient of a scholarship for George Mason, which she's alumni, and she's offered to sponsor him for 4 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What a blessing, how God orients things so that people are in the right place at the right time.
Absolutely.
To understand the opportunity.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so it's I am a lot. But what I am most is I'm an advocate for the voiceless. You know, my book will talk a lot about like my childhood trauma and how I had no voice. That definitely is not the case now.
I think you are probably right.
I have a voice, and my voice is being heard. And I help others that are voiceless to, exercise their voice as well. And I advocate very strong, very strong. Yeah. The other thing is that I adopted a beautiful young man. He's 15, almost 16 now. We've had him since he was 4 weeks. My little Aubrey, and we just recently lost a very dear friend that was responsible for my son being able to get enrolled into the model secondary school in D.C. It's a high school that sits on the campus.
But you haven't said that he's deaf yet.
My son is deaf. Yep, he's deaf. And the interpreter that Franklin Eves, God rest his soul, he was responsible for helping my son get into that school. And it was literally, when I say God opened the doors, literally all we had to do is fill out the application and walk right in. We've been tuition free for a whole year. My son has played sports.
How has it impacted him?
Everything that the doctors a long time ago said that he wouldn't be able to do, God provided a means for him to be able to do all those things.
All right.
That black tie event that you and we attended, another beautiful thing about just being in the community and walking in faith is that how God, like you were just saying, how God will bring everything together. Well, my son is a volunteer for the summer camp. And one of the things he always wanted to do was he wanted to have a little walkie-talkie so that he could look like he was important, and he's primarily nonverbal. But he came in Friday to tell us about this new job that he has within his job. He's like, I was a boss, and I was talking on my radio, and I was telling those kids, it's like, y'all sit down, y'all are being bad, you need to focus and work hard. And I was like, but the highlight was that he had the walkie-talkie. And so I went back and I talked to, the headmaster to let him know what an impact just that made in my son's life, like with the veterans. I know that when we take that extra minute and sit down and we give them that time to listen, we give them that ear, that's a big impact in the life of the veterans versus that quick in and out no, nothing bad about the VA, but, that quick in and out, that robotic, process. We literally take the time to sit down and talk to the veteran and their family members and help them through this process.
And you build a relationship. Definitely. That's what you asked me about a while ago.
Relationships.
Was the relationships. Mm-hmm. I have people that I sold advertising to who now are some of my best friends. I am friends with almost all of my clients, and and I love watching them succeed and have a better life. And if I can help with that, that's what I do. But I'm amazed at the relationships that I have. My granddaughters, when they come and we go out to eat or whatever, there's always somebody that you know everybody, Gigi.
Yes.
No, not really, but
you'll get to know them.
When you've been here as long as I have, which has been the early 80s, unless you're hiding under a rock, you're going to meet people and build relationships. But I feel very fortunate that I have relationships with people that can make a difference. So like you know people that you can pick up the phone and they'll take your call and help you with whatever it is you need. I'm blessed to have that as well.
Absolutely.
And I just want you to know that I am proud to be in your life and proud to have you as a friend, and am overwhelmed sometimes with all that you're able to do. And thank you for inviting me to be on this interview.
Thank you. Let me ask you, and I thank you as well. We have a very beautiful relationship, and I truly believe that it's definitely ordained and divine. But to the viewers, what would you like to say to the viewers from the different platforms that you sit on? Is there like a summary that you would like to share with the viewers?
One of the things is that I would like them to realize that small business owners need our support, and give them a chance before you go to the big box store, and because life would be very different if we didn't have all these small businesses, and they are the backbone of our community, and they are the ones who sponsor the baseball teams, and they are the ones that are volunteering when it comes time for nonprofits to have fundraisers. They're the people that are sewing back in to our community. Amazon's not sending any money here, and so it's our small businesses that are making a difference in our community. And then one of the things that I think is important is that we're having an election coming up. And we're going to have some local elections, and I would challenge everyone to really take a look at the candidates. And when it comes time to vote, you have done your homework and you know what they stand for, and you can vote depending on your beliefs align with whoever it is you're going to vote for, instead of showing up and saying, "Oh gosh, I don't know who this person is," and you just pick somebody.
Yes.
But do your homework and go vote.
Right. Good. Yes. I plan to vote. I would also, I was
going to ask you the same question.
Oh, what were you going to ask me?
Well, the same question. What would you like?
Oh, to share with the viewers. Care about people. I value the lives. I value the relationships that definitely on a much deeper level post-COVID, if we're even post-COVID. But I definitely value the relationships that I have with people much differently. Again, losing my husband was a paramount, event in my life, and it just made me look at relationships differently when I have veterans that call crying about being able to talk about events like a male veteran would call me and say, "Thank you for me being able to talk to you about me being raped in the military as a man, and you not making me feel less than a man, but helping me to understand that it wasn't my fault." Like, that's important to me, because now this man doesn't have to go and drink and drug and sex and gamble to do all those things to fill that void that was left. No debriefing from the military, and no support from the community, and returning back into the civilian sector. And so he's able to come to our company, and we give him, help give him those tools that he needs to be a better person than what he thought he was not. And definitely let him know that it wasn't his fault. Again, a voice for the voiceless. And so I value the relationships. I would like to encourage the viewers to value the relationships that you're entangled with, and learn how to see people for their worth, not for what you can get from them, but what do you have to bring to the table? And that's one of the things that I really appreciate about your and my relationship, is that I'm going to bring just as much to the table in our relationship as you are in our relationship. It's not all about business. There's times when you or your husband may not have been feeling well, get to send food.
Yeah, I know somebody does that.
Right, yes. So that makes me feel good, because I know that, when it was my turn, what you coming over, just your presence, how important that was, for you to just come in and sit down with me in my home and just give me a hug, tell me you love me, let me know that you're there for me. That made all the difference, and that gave me just that extra oomph to just make it to another day. And I'm gonna tell you, that was one of the hardest parts of my life. Was I didn't know where I was going to get my next breath from.
I know you were devastated when your husband passed.
Absolutely.
And
yeah. So value your relationships. When you see a veteran, buy them a meal, pay for their gas. Buy whatever they have in that grocery line. If you see a veteran that has on some type of military memorabilia, thank them for their service, but don't just thank them with your lips. Find different ways to support the veterans and their family, even their family members. I would like to give a special shout out to Kevan Ware, our videographer, also a veteran. Thank you. I met Kevan at a networking event, and like you and I, we clicked instantly. We done, he introduced, like yourself, and you helped me to embrace a different part of the whole business aspect. Kevan has done the exact same thing, and capturing the moment. That's his thing, capture the moment. And I never thought about capturing the moment. But since my husband has passed away and I lost other family members and other friends, I've learned to capture the moment. These moments with us are very important. So that's another piece that I would like to leave with the viewer, is to capture the moments in
That's
life.
Great. Well, being the business owner that I am, I can't not throw out, if you are a small business person and you want help with growing your business, and if you are a startup company, please give us a call so we can help you avoid some of those pitfalls that can turn into alligators. So,
can you provide a phone number for the viewers?
I can. 770-289-9621 is my cell phone number. And Lorraine at aboutmarketinginc.com is my email. So if you need help, please give me a buzz.
It would definitely be worth your time.
Thank
Lorraine,
you, Brenda.
I would like to thank you so much for coming in and sitting in for this interview / podcast. And I would definitely like to be able to come back to the table again with you with one of your other businesses, and so we can highlight, thank you for the Save Small Biz. Thank you for what you do for the community. Thank you for what you do in our Bible study. And just thank you as a friend for, what you do for me as a woman in business. I can only imagine.